Today on Metaphysical Mississippi, we have a group of ladies that we've had before. We welcome back Beth, Krista, Kelly, Hadley, and of course myself, Emily. And we're going to discuss goal setting, planners, and what we all use to keep ourselves organized. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, my name is Beth Herzig, and today we're going to be doing a panel discussion about planners, planning, the new year, resolutions, intentions, and what we're doing at the beginning of the year, and talk to each other about what our plans are, or if we have plans, and how we keep track of that throughout the year. So starting with me, I'm Beth Herzig. I lead meditation in Jackson. I also own a business. I'm a mom of 2 daughters, and I help run a nonprofit as well as some other volunteer efforts. So I have a lot of different dates that I have to worry about. And so I'm interested to know what other people's systems are, if they have any. And I'll turn it over to you, Krista. Introduce yourself and let people know what you do in Jackson.
Yes, so I'm Krista Tew. I'm the director of Metaphysical Mississippi. I also run a wellness center while also trying to run my own Reiki practice and teaching. And I'm also a mother and run a household. And like Beth, I feel like I'm juggling all these different entities. And do you lump them all together or try to keep them separate? Because one thing, I was a stay-at-home mom for most of my adult life, and now I'm a working woman, and trying to have that work home personal time balance is a struggle right now. And I'm very thankful that I do have an office. So I'm really trying to learn to do office stuff, do work stuff at the office, and family personal stuff at home. And that has been not easy for me because home has always been my work. And even when I was doing things outside the home and outside family and personal things, I still did that at home. Like I had a home office that I did the other things I did outside the home, but that's where I managed things. So I do feel like lists and planners are a very important part of my life, but I'm almost where my husband picks on me that I spend too much time making my lists and planners than I actually do.
Thank you.
I had to talk about this.
I think there's a lot of blurred lines for sure between home and work for most women and, people that have families and businesses, just even those two things. So we all have a lot going on. Hadley, what about you? Could you tell us a little bit about you and your things that you need to plan in the future this year?
Sure. I'm Hadley Thorne. I am an author and a podcaster based out of Central Mississippi. Prior to writing, I was in nonprofit, and I've worked in communications, marketing, business development, and project management. Lots of dates and stuff to keep up with there. I cannot say that I take that over into my podcasting or my writing. All dates for me are pretty much my own. I've self-imposed deadlines, and every year I buy these beautiful planners, and they are empty. I start like in January with the best of intentions, but by February they're out the door. So I'm interested today to see how y'all stay on track with it and really take it to the next level. I've got friends that they do 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year planners, and I really want to get into that. For me, the most, I guess, daily practice I do is I really try and do an affirmation a day and take time to journey weekly, usually a couple of times weekly. But other than that, I'm pretty fly by the seat of your pants kind of girl.
Kelly, what about you?
I'm Kelly. I'm the owner and creator of Twin Moon Magic Candles and Craft. I'm also the manager and social media manager of Jackson Healing Arts Center here in Midtown Jackson, Mississippi. I have a lot to juggle and plan, and I, like Hadley, buy great planners every year, and I end up putting stuff on we'll get into that later. I'm a list maker, love making lists, because I love to cross stuff off. So I've got, it's more of chaotic planning, but because of my two different jobs, which are both, metaphysical, spiritually based, but I've got different dates going, and I have to remember, is that Twin Moon Magic stuff or is that Jack Zen stuff? And like what date? So it can be a lot. So but mine's kind of chaotic, and I want to be that journal person that has this great, like this binder, and it's all fantastic. And mine's like post-it notes falling out of a steno pad, and like then I've got like a couple pieces of paper that have another thing on it, and it's all shoved into something else. So it's kind of chaotic, a little like me, but I get it done.
I think it's
So
true
that's
that we all have
important.
different systems that work for us. So
Right.
it may not be this, thing that we see on a Pinterest board or
Right.
Instagram, or that we're using this one certain way. Yeah. Emily, what about you? What kind of systems do you use, or tell us a little bit about yourself so that we can get started talking about this topic?
Great, thank you. I'm Emily Hester. I am production manager for Metaphysical Mississippi, as well as I do a few other side hustle jobs. I basically just put things on a calendar as I need to base. About the only thing I use the calendar for is when am I going to do a podcast? So that's about all. And what event is happening. So I go with a Google Calendar just based on the events. I have an editorial calendar. So basically it's only work related. I don't keep a personal calendar for my family. And things that I do as far as work and life, I just play it all by ear. And I jot it down in a little notebook, with no dates. But
God, it gives me anxiety. I was like,
no dates or times, and the work that I do, things change constantly every day. I can never make a plan. I don't even know if I'm going to have work that week, some of the other side jobs I do. But basically I think as Hadley said, self-imposed deadlines. I do that
She's good at that. Yeah.
for Metaphysical Mississippi.
Not just self-imposed, coworker imposed.
Yes.
Yeah, like big deadlines, and I'm like, that's a target date. That's not a dead. I don't do deadlines. Give me target dates.
But anyway, I am so thrilled to have Beth hosting this today for me, so I can just be a participant, or rather a learner, because I think I'm just going to contribute what not to do to be organized,
Well,
right.
I mean, let's go around and say something that is working for us. So it might not be a planner. It might not be, this traditional way of planning out our responsibilities and events. But I'll start with, for me, I use an academic planner. So I don't get all this anxiety around January, because an academic year is actually, usually they start with May and then go to May again, and so I feel like that to me is a way that I'm not, having to change everything over in January, because especially as a mom, nothing is based on January. It's really based on that school year. And so I think for me, when the new school year calendar comes out, that is like where I'm working other things around it. So like right now, the next year's school calendar will come out. And so from my family's perspective, now I can go, okay, well, what is our spring break plan going to be? When could we leave town for Thanksgiving, or go see a family member around Christmas? So I think that to me is when I even am planning retreats or Flowering Lotus around that. I don't want to plan a retreat when, it's a break for kids, because also everyone else, not everyone has children. So I do acknowledge that. But a lot of people are basing their ability to participate in events around that school year calendar. So I think that's kind of like my starting point of, when I'm planning out. And I would say it ends up being almost like a 3-year period, because school years are 2 different years. And right now I am already planning the events for 2023, 2024 Flowering Lotus stuff. You've got to book people way in advance sometimes when you're talking about residential teachers coming in. So I would say, to me, I'm using a more academic calendar to get to a starting point. And also I love a written thing where I can look at the whole month and then turn and see a week by week basis. And so that planner, most academic planners are planned like that, where yes, you're having to write in multiple places, but it's almost like you can see the big picture of your month, then turn in and put those to-do lists in the different boxes of a weekly basis. So anybody else have something that's working for them? Kelly?
Yeah, so I buy every year. I get, okay, this is my standby right here. So it's by Llewellyn Publishing, and it's a witch's calendar, and I get one every year. And so it's also like the almanac. So it is like what you said, Beth. It's got the month at a glance. So you can see the month at a glance. And then it starts with a week by week, and each week you have a little area where you could write your notes or anything like that. I really do use this. I'll go through, the first of the year, I'll put everybody's birthdays in it. And then the other thing I like about this is because it's a witch's book, it has the moon phases in it, when the moon is in which zodiac, harvest time, planting time, anything that would be in the Farmer's Almanac kind of like is in this. So it is like, I love it. And it'll give you like witchy stuff. I'm a witchy girl. So it's got like your power color of the day, what quarter the moon is in, and then particular things that are either sabbats or witchy kind of things. It'll be when it's a certain goddess day, it'll be in there, just like Flag Day is on a regular calendar. Right. It'll be like, this is Hecate's feast day. Okay, like, so it's that kind of calendar. And that's important to me because that's actually how I live my life. Like that is my calendar. Like that is how I live my life. So these I do put stuff in. And then I get one of these each year. I haven't even opened up my 2023 one. I know it's like kind of still has the plastic on it. So that's why you're getting shine on it. I know we're still January, so I'm okay. But it's a wall calendar and it has gorgeous pictures on it. And it's also by Llewellyn Publishing. I grew up, I've been a witchy kid since I was like 8. I'm 48. So Llewellyn Publishing has been around that long. And so that's always been my standby for just authors and in general that like, I know I'm going to enjoy that book. And then I like a lot of other publishing houses, like smaller publishing houses like Spiritbound Press and stuff like that I really enjoy, and Wiser Books. So I really, those calendars are the best and I really use them. But frankly,
Kelly's speaking my language.
What's that, then?
You're speaking my language.
Oh, good. Okay. So my day-to-day life, right? This is like all the big things. I'll go through the year, put in all the big things I know are coming up, but then day to day, like this is what I do. It is lists. Papers will probably fall out. There's Post-it notes, and it's just lists of what I have to do that day. And then I make the list and I cross it off when I do it. And if I do something that's not on the list, you bet your booty, I'm going to write it on the list so I can cross it off. Because I guess I live my life based on the affirmation of accomplishment. And it makes me feel good when I can look at my day and most of that stuff is crossed off. And this is my Jack Zen one. Like this is what I take with me every day to work. but I have a big like 8x11 just spiral ring notebook that I use for Twin Moon Magic. And that's downstairs in my candle studio. And that has everything in it, like what I pour that day, how many ounces of oil it has. Like it's like a recipe book / order list for oils and supplies / what order goes to what store. I mean, everything is in it. And then I have a wall calendar down there that like January, I'll start it by going shipped evolves order, going to Birmingham, Alabama. And then like by February, it falls off. And then it's just, I look, it's like November. I look back, it's still on May. And I'm like, oh, like, I guess I never used that wall calendar, but this I can't live without. So, and they're cheap. And I've got 10 more that Jason bought as a pack. And so but at Jack Zen, we're doing a journal maker series. And that's actually the 14th, 15th. So if you guys want to do that, hop over, register for it. So it is a make your own journal planner. So it's exactly what we're talking about today. But the cool thing about it is it's it's the way it's mind, body, spirit based. So it's got your month at a glance, the week at a glance, and then the next page will be grid paper, and then watercolor paper, and then and then it'll be you can check off if you did your like spirit thing, whether it be a yoga, a meditation, you walked, whatever it is, did you move your body? Did you, give yourself some self-care? And then did you get your shit done? Sorry. It's just a little check. So it gives the people that like to check stuff off their thing. It gives I want the month at a glance. So it's going to be fun. And we're making it out of the community canvas painting scraps that we get from the big paint stuff we put up every event. And I think it's only $33, and y'all leave there with the journal started in your first quarter of papers. Nice. And then I'm not sure how we're going to work it out, but I know there's going to be a PDF where you can print out your next quarter of papers. Right. And it's refillable. It's this really cool. Oh, it's going to be awesome. So that's good. The 14th, 15th, y'all. So it's going to fill up. And it's not a 2-day event. You can pick a Saturday or a Sunday, whichever one works.
Yeah, that's good for a lot of different schedules.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Hadley, what about you? I know that you were worried about not being a planner, but what do you think? You've got to have some things that are working for you since you do so many things.
Well, the biggest challenge I face is not my schedule, but everybody else's, and fitting that together. As I think I mentioned before we got started, that I work with 15 people from across the U.S. So there's only about 4 of us that are in Mississippi, but then everybody else is East Coast. We've got folks in Massachusetts, New Hampshire. Gosh, where else? I think there's someone in Illinois, Arizona, Nevada, and Minnesota. So we're all over. And getting the times and the people together for certain, when we're podcasting, it's really difficult. And there's days that, we've had 4 people scheduled and only 1 person show up for a podcast. And it's just, that's just how it is. But when I'm sitting here and I'm reminiscing over back when I was organized, is we used to have a Monday meeting every Monday and get together with our calendars and kind of go through what we were working on that week. Because it's important to me, not just to know what I'm doing, but what my folks are doing. So especially with authors, and you're dealing with people who, I've got a book launch coming up on the 15th. Well, let's try and get some promos out for this book launch, and I'm trying to, this is the direction we're growing. So these are all great ideas, and I love listening to y'all talk about it, because it's just bringing forth some stuff that I might have forgotten, because it's been so long since I've actually, was moving forward in an organized manner. So thank you.
Well, I think your your project management hat, I think that to me is, I'm really interested in what you were doing in that way, because I know that has a lot to do with and I'm not an expert. You're much more of an expert, but creating tasks and creating action plans that have to do with smaller goals and that sort of thing. So I think you have a lot to add.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
Maybe
Krista.
you're just on sabbatical from all that, because you have done it in the past. So you're just taking a little break.
well, yeah, and I pretty much, I would say in the last couple of years, kind of taken a break from the project management stuff. Um, I've worked in nonprofit doing communications and marketing pretty much the last couple of years in business development. But project direction was incredibly goal oriented and meeting, especially in nonprofit when you're working on contracts, with the government, you have certain stuff that you have to hit. So it's just a matter of planning those out in a timely manner and just kind of meeting those. But that's a whole different hat than what I'm doing now. So
Yes.
Maybe you don't need planners because you can just do it organically.
yeah, that's it. I'll tell myself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Well, I've got
organic
15 different notebooks with 15 different, ideas and stuff in it. But
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Krista? What's working for you right now?
Okay, so man, just listening to y'all, I kept wanting to jump in and say stuff because I want to comment on stuff y'all said, but I'll stick to what you're asking is what do I do? Actually, I do a little bit of what all y'all said. I'm always on the search for the perfect planner. I tend to like basic, like I think a pretty planner with pictures and all that, that's pretty, but I like just good old black and white, just keep it simple because I get easily distracted. So when I'm planning, I want white paper. And a couple years ago, I kind of thought about moving over to digital, apps and Google. And I do use Google Calendars a lot, but I still like to write it down. So I think I do double work, but I just can't not do this. I write it in my planner or my notebook, or like y'all, I've got 2 or 3 different planners. I've got 2 or 3 different kind of notebooks, and then I've got Post-it notes all over my desk, in my purse, in the kitchen, there's Post-it notes everywhere. But I eventually document and archive it into my Google Calendar.
Oh, wow.
And like Beth and Kelly, like I had 3 kids, so the way I planned did evolve from being a mother. I had 3. There was like 4 or 5 years. Well, actually, most of their life, they were in 3 different schools, and even 1 or 2 would be in private. Like one year, I had 1 in private school, 1 in public school, and 1 in preschool. So their characters were different, different start times, and so. And because I have that little ADD and I get distracted, I had to write it down. I had to. And part of my, you had mentioned to do what works for you, because I think not only does different things work for different people, but different times in your life, different things will work for you. Like with Hadley, like she's at a time in her life maybe where she didn't need to do it the way she did it in the past. But the first thing I do almost every morning is I fix my coffee and I sit at my desk and I have to plan my day. If I don't sit down, whether it's 3 minutes or 3 hours, that's just, I am not a very organized, structured person. Most of the time I fly by the seat of my pants, but that thing I've got to do, or I just feel like I'm tripping over myself the whole day. Like I said, it could be as simple as just sitting there, pulling my little steno pad and just write 1, 2, 3, my schedule for the day. Now, the sad thing is I feel like I hardly ever stick to that plan. Like I write it out, doesn't mean I'm going to do it. And like I said, my husband makes fun of me because he says, you wrote, take out the trash, clean the kitchen, start the laundry, and you didn't even get to those things. You wasted your time writing it down. I mean, he's not mad at me, but it's just, but I don't know. It's because Emily and I our mother. So the whole planner thing started in our childhood because our mother had a daytime or daykeeper, whatever they were called. And she called it her brain. And she could not get out of the bed without writing it down. So some of my obsessiveness about it was probably modeled from her. Some of Emily's maybe resistance. She's not something you don't want to do what your mother does. But that's one of the things I did take from my mom that I still do is I like to write it down.
Metaphysical Mississippi is going on the road. We are holding our first Metaphysical Mississippi pop-up meetup January 22nd in Starkville, Mississippi. We'll be at the Soulflower Healing Arts Studio from 2 to 4 on Sunday afternoon. Make sure to join us and we hope to see you there. For more information, check out our website, metaphysicalms.com. And also, if you want to get involved to make this happen, go to our Get Involved page. You'll find out more information there. Now back to the show.
We talk about what kind of digital things do we use. So everyone has kind of touched on their paper and the physical planners, wall calendars. How do any of us use digital planners or ways to stay on task or keep track of our goals, plans, and tasks digitally? Hadley, what do you have to say about that?
Yes, and yes. I use my phone for everything, from just ideas I get while I'm driving down the road to look back over. I mean, I've been going through years worth of notes that I have on my phone. And it can be anything from, don't forget to do this, but a lot of times it's just ideas. And as a writer, that's one of the things that, I guess it doesn't really apply to what y'all do, but it's a huge part of what I do is I'm building worlds. So, and then I have to keep up with what each one of my characters' backstory is, which often is in my head, as well as what's happened in the books. So when I applied the organization to that, yes, I'm pretty organized with that stuff. But as it comes to my life, not so much. But yeah, the digital stuff is incredibly helpful. Like I said, from sending myself an email or a text message or just voice to text, whatever I can do. So
are you primarily organizing that in your notes app, or is it in different folders, or how do you do it? Like
it's all over the place. Side? Whatever is on my mind at the time. I would say that my iPhone's note taking thing is full of stuff, and it can be anything from a phrase that I've heard that I want to use in the book to a song. So
very cool, very cool. What about Emily? What were you gonna say?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, I think the top row of people are more y'all have y'all's lives a little more organized, but I'm on the same with Hadley. I always come up with these great ideas, and I do have notebooks full of ideas, and that's kind of what I do too. I've used the note taker sometimes on my phone, but I'm not as much digital. But yeah, I'm using my calendar. I'm an idea girl. And yeah, and I do have to plan out my ideas. So actually I'm emailing my ideas to Krista or I use my editorial calendar. So I do use it, the Google Calendar with my ideas. So yeah, I'm more of an idea planner rather than this is my to-do list planner for the day, because I'm just organic and it just happens when it happens, and I kind of like say, okay, here's the deadline. So anyway.
What about you, Kelly? What kind of digital things do you do?
Just like Hadley. I've used on my iPhone, the notes, the little notes icon, little guy, that sucker is so full of chock full of stuff, like it is. And it's like, if I've got an idea or for anything, and or even like I see something that's a symbolism that kind of like is an aha moment, and I'll write it down so that I can journal it later or whatever, because I don't have all that with me. So and it's all in the notes. And I know that the iPhone has these great capabilities of putting stuff in folders and like organizing with all this, putting it with this calendar. And now it's just all in the notes because it's a thought. The notes is my Stenopad. That note app is my Stenopad. It all just is there, and none of it is organized, but I just have to scroll to whatever I want. And then that's cool because then I can send it to an email, or I can share it to someone, or so it's all right there. And then I can kind of send it where it needs to go. But it's not organized in any of I know there's apps that do all that stuff, and I don't have the time to learn it, or I get frozen by wanting to read the directions on how to use the app, and then I don't utilize it because then I'll just use the notes anyway because it's familiar. So
And I think that's, for me, familiarity. I've had so many people suggest different things, but I like what I know. I sometimes I'll try new things, but familiarity is important.
Well, I also feel like, I'm not sure how old everyone is in this group, but I feel like we're from the same generation. So I think that it is the type of thing where, other kids or, our kids and, people that come after us, if you will, are used to using the digital side of things more so than paper. So,
yeah, if you would look at my kids, they'll come and show me their phone, and they've organized all the icons in their phone with this cool, it's all color coded, and like, look, Mom, you could do this with your phone. And I was like, you just spent an hour moving all your icons around and like color coding it, but it looks great and it's super organized. I mean, I am OCD, even though that wouldn't say I'm OCD, but it is all in, like, it's all there. But the kids are really great at using a lot of digital stuff, and it's not, I didn't grow around using it. We had those day-to-day planners, or the planner you said your mom. I remember those, like, so that's kind of that was where I grew up. I remember those. You wrote it down.
Yeah, because this
is how I take my notes.
See, that gives me anxiety so much. And see, that's where my OCD comes into play. It should be like, I was the best note taker in college, y'all. You have no idea. I had different pens. People wanted to use my notes and photocopy them because, like, I love note taking. So this Stenopad, it's cool because, like, I even indent, like, and use almost like little A-B, almost as if I'm taking notes. And so it's very
outline
in there,
I love it.
Nice. Well, that's what I was going to say is, like, I feel like our, way that we're using technology has to do with the way we grew up using paper. So the notes app is super familiar to us.
Not paper. It's just typing.
Right. But there are some other systems that people use. I've used in different groups where I'm not the person that's over the management of it. So I know Slack is a really popular one that people use for doing tasks and everyone being able to see what everyone else is doing. And then in my nonprofit, we really use like the Google Workspace side of things. So it is integrating some like Google Calendar stuff, but then, everyone who needs access to certain folders has that over there with, maybe Hadley, you use that too, but it's like, some people need the promotion stuff for the same event, and that way everything is in one place. Hadley, what do you use in your group management? Because you have a lot of people that are in the same group. Is it like one person is the leadership of it, or is it like shared leadership? How does that work?
Well, as we grow, it originally is just me, and I find that oftentimes I'm still the one everyone turns to for the stuff to get done. Yeah. So, I'm lucky in that Morgana is very astute. She's a graphic designer by trade. So she's very helpful in getting things done as well. But the writers, we're all just scattered. And it's really funny because we'll keep up with our word count, we'll keep up with our book sales, we'll keep up with, all these characters and all, but when it comes to anything else outside of that, we're all just like, I don't know, just tell me what to do.
Right.
And so it is, I mean, we've in different projects I've worked on, we've used Slack, we've used Google, and right now we have a Facebook chat message that's how we communicate. And we have a Facebook private team collaborative group where we put files and stuff. And that's pretty much, and keep in mind, I mean, I'm a Gen Xer. Most of I would say the guys are baby boomers. So with the boomers, it's just a different way of communicating. But everybody else is like, I mean, we've got a lot of millennials. So it's just, but for the most part, it's Gen Xers, and we just do things differently. Then I think we kind of fall into a weird thing there. But because we definitely don't do things like the boomers do.
Right. Well, I think you have to meet people in your group where they're at, right? So if you're managing people that I don't feel comfortable with that technology, then there's this huge learning curve, and then maybe they have kind of like a problem with trying, not wanting to get involved with like a new interface or that type of thing. But I definitely have a group that I manage via email, like a forwarding email thing, where we just have a small group of volunteers that really we're just sharing 2 dates a month. So we might, it's not this, huge undertaking of details. And then I have a group that is, we do a Facebook chat messenger, and then a group that I'm in. And then another group that I'm in, we're doing all the Google interface. So like doing shared workspace, because there is more content to manage between the whole group. So I think that really talks a lot about, how you communicate as a group, meeting people where they are. What about you, Kelly? How does Jackson do it?
Google Workplace. So yeah, that's what we use, and mainly. And then for the constant contact for any of the newsletter things that go out weekly and that. So and then Gina really takes care of all that part of the social media and that. So I get the emails and whatnot for that, but she's got, so I don't even know really how to use that. Like she does all of that. I do mostly the social media aspect stuff, and then again, my Stenopad, like, really goes back down to that. It's that and email,
And Krista, what about it, like holistic arts and holistic healing? What about that? What do you guys do at your center? How do you manage those different businesses?
Right now, both Metaphysical Mississippi and Holistic Health and Healing, Google, and that's mainly because that's what I know. I'm familiar with that. That's what I use. Yeah. And so for Holistic Health and Healing, well, a lot for Metaphysical Mississippi, but both the calendar is a big part of both of those businesses, keeping up with what's going on and managing people, managing time. And it's kind of funny that that's a big part of my job, when if someone would ask me if that's a skill set that I have naturally, I would say no. I'm very I'm always 5 minutes late for everything, I feel like. So maybe that's why I do get obsessive about it, because it doesn't come naturally to me as far as staying on task and being on time. So that's why planners and calendars are important to me, because it helps me to not feel so scattered. But I do see where we might need to look into some apps, because each practitioner here at the Holistic Health and Healing manage their own schedule. They, they do their own stuff, but we do have a classroom, and we do have rooms that there are times that I need to keep up with what's going on in some of the rooms that we might rent out to other practitioners. So I'm using Google for now because that's what I know, but I do feel like I'm going to have to look into something a little more streamlined.
Well,
and
I guess I didn't even realize, like, coming to talk about what you're talking about is Jackson uses Wellness Living, which is an app, and also you can, a website where that's where all our scheduling happens for people that, all our practitioners are on the schedule. If you make an appointment for Jackson, it's through Wellness Living. And so I guess I didn't even think of that as being, that's what we use for Jackson. The newsletter stuff is the Google Workplace Constant Contact, but daily planning out the different rooms that we have at Jackson, and then the different practitioners that are in them, and when their appointments are there, and that helps us not book the same room at the same time. And so yeah, that's Wellness Living. And we've used what was the other one, body app.
yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
we kind of have evolved every time we've got, as we've gotten bigger and stuff, that one didn't work so well anymore. So now we're on Wellness Living, and it works. It's really actually great. We're still learning, so there's a lot of aspects to it. There's ways you can take your clients, you can take kind of like situationally based clients, like these are our energy medicine clients, and you can actually send out email notifications or text notifications just to that group of clients. Then you've got your massage people or your float people. And that in itself is a great app, because for the business side of everything, it's planning everything and putting people into like what appointments they book mostly. Then who's your energy medicine people, who's your massage people. So that one's great for an all around, especially like for you guys, Krista, that's something you might even look into, because you have different practitioners, different rooms, booking, and maybe even renting out that room for different people to come in. Then you're going to have to keep that plan so that room doesn't get double booked. You're definitely heading towards needing an app like that that's going to do it all for you.
Because right now it's just me and sometimes Sherry just keeping up with it in our mind, and the wall calendar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't forget the wall calendar in the kitchen. That's where it all is.
See, but the cool thing about the digital one is it'll know when you've double booked something, but you won't know to look back one more page and realize, oh crap, Jason Lee's got his sound bath in that room, and then we've got so and so that's doing a yoga.
So right now, I'm doing not so much Metaphysical Mississippi because Emily's helping with that, but all that's digital on the Google Calendar. But for Holistic Health and Healing, I'm sure there is a better way to do this, but because this is what I'm familiar with, I do have a Google Calendar, and we do have a calendar on our website, but I'm doing both. I write it on that wall calendar because that's what I have to do. I have to see it. There's something about the pen, the pencil. I like to use pencil. Sherry says use pen, but then I got to white it out. I use pencil, and I get that big wall calendar, and every couple of months I sit there, about once a month, and I go out 3 months, and I play with that thing and I write it out. I get the wall calendar all pretty. Then I take the wall calendar, sit at my desk. And I know that's double work, but that's where I am. That's what makes me feel. And I enjoy doing it. It's fun.
If you enjoy it, that's great. And you probably remember it because you've written it like 2 or 3 times. I know, that's why I make my list. So
I'll be getting out of the shower and have a text from somebody wants to book something on the calendar. And I always go back and double check, but the process of me writing it out, which is where I see is a little downside once we get, because I want to bring this up too. If we get too automated with everything, it loses that personal touch and us putting our energy into it. So when I'm sitting down with that calendar, even at home, making my to-do list or working on the calendar here, that's like spell work almost. That's like intention writing. I like think about when I'm writing the yoga classes in there, I'm thinking about those yoga classes and thinking about those students that I see come through the door. And then it reminds me, oh, I should probably go vacuum in there. So then I stop and I go back. I go all over the place, but it's still important to me. So where somebody might look at that and say that's very inefficient, and in some aspect it is. For me right now, especially in the beginning, it's very important. I need to do it because I'm putting energy into building our practice and putting energy into those events that are happening. Emily acts like she's
Well,
wanting
I
to say
keep
something.
wanting to say, just as Hadley mentioned, though, your group has all different generations: baby boomer, Gen X, the millennial. So you do need to kind of keep in mind what are they, each of them, accustomed to, and you kind of have to have all those. You have to have redundancy for all of it. Yeah, that's
But
what
it
I
is
would-
nice to be able to just look at my phone and go, go onto our website and say, okay, yeah, the room's free. Yeah, you can have it. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing now. Still very, very fly by the seat of my pants, but we're getting there.
Well, I wanted to share too. I use an invoicing system called FreshBooks, and it really is about, it's sort of QuickBooks-ish, but I like it because it's a lot simpler for me. And what I did is like make that be, it has a place where you can put like a due date or something. So you're invoicing, I'm invoicing, this is for my awards business. So I'm invoicing the customer as soon as they place an order. And then it has a due date, which it traditionally is made to be like a due date for them to pay the invoice. But I make it for when the due date of when I need to have the order ready.
Yep.
And so I can print out everything I need to do in a given month, week, day, and it gives me like my to-do list for that.
That becomes your
day.
calendar. That's awesome.
And so it's kind of like I don't have to have that third party other calendar to know what I need to do because I've made my invoices be the to-do list.
Where that,
So that is, that is for traditional business where I could see it working for people that are producing items, right? So I don't know that it would work for all of the appointment setting and rooms and that sort of thing. Of course, it's a totally different style of business. But yeah, I found that like we did go from when my parents owned it to writing everything on carbon copy invoicing.
those days.
And we had like this wall, like a file organizer on the wall that was just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I can't tell you how many times I would take the whole stack of Monday and be walking around my whole business, like trying to pull things that I needed for each order. Or then the phone would ring and I'd put my papers down somewhere and I'd go, I've lost all of Monday's orders. I don't know where to go. Like panic, right? Because if I don't have that stack, now I've lost all of that information. So I do kind of go with like, hey, it is good to have it both digitally and on paper. But then, once I switched over to digital, if I did do that, so I still would sometimes print out the papers because especially when I was really busy, I was using that paper as like a work order for the production side, a work order for the engraving side. And then we'd staple it to the box of the awards once they were ready. So we still used that paper. But the great thing is if I left the paper, somewhere in the back room where I couldn't find it, I could just print it out again.
Yeah.
Maybe not great for the trees, but there was that backup. So I think that it really does speak to, having it in multiple places and meeting each person what they feel comfortable with, it really does help to have both ways. So I can see that, Krista. I like the idea of it being energy work too for the events and for
I like
the
that.
healers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of business goals do you have for your quote unquote businesses that you are in charge of for this year? Do you guys have anything you'd like to share about that? I'll just open it up.
Weird Realities is moving towards Patreon. That's we're completely making no money right now, so the goal is to get it where it can self-sustain itself. So we're going to look at doing some small tiers for that, and that's what we're currently working on and hoping to see by the end of the year that it will no longer be in the red and it will be paying for itself.
Yay. Yay.
Great. I've seen a lot of people work going towards Patreon or Substack or those types of ways of, monetizing your content, because so many of us have kind of gotten used to everything being free on this digital media side of things. And as far as like, I'm saying from a user point of view,
Yeah.
and what I've seen people do, which I think is a really great idea, is almost like create a cliffhanger situation of every episode. So you start off your episode and then say, oh, do you want to know more, or you want to hear the end of this story? Go,
So Patreon.
subscribe to our Patreon, or I don't know if they call it subscribe, but join our Patreon and you can hear the rest of it. This is just someone I follow who they were a radio host on Sirius XM. So that's like a national syndicated, channel that this person was on. And I feel like she did have a pretty good following, but for some reason they canceled her. And so what she ended up doing is having a daily radio show anyway, without having to use Sirius, which is a paid service in and of itself, and doing it all digitally. But she then releases a podcast once a week and says, oh, you want to hear the rest of this story? Go to our Patreon. And it is working, I think, for her. I don't know her personally, but it was just interesting to see someone go from that,
Big platform.
a huge platform and try to monetize it individually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good luck, Hadley. I think that you're on the right track for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Anyone
And I-
else
and
want to
I know
share
that-
a business goal?
I want to just add to that about the Patreon is that, for years, I've also noticed some podcasts are not only plugging and doing ads on their podcast, but I'm sure through some of these podcast streamings, they have like commercials, like radio podcasts, and I don't know if I really want to do that. But to talk about the podcasting and Patreon is, for years, I've been a podcast junkie myself, and I love podcasts. And so now that we're creating content, I've talked to Emily about this. I've started going back, and I'm slowly, the people that I really listen to, I'm finally joining Patreon for them, because it wasn't that I just didn't realize. I just didn't realize it till I was on the other side of the microphone or the screen. And I'm like, you know what? These people that I've been following 5 years ago, they've changed. Some of that content has changed my life, or at least enriched my life, did bring value. And so I'm sure I'll be joining Hadley's. And so I am trying to like go back when I don't have a list. It's when it comes across my awareness, I do it. So that's why I'll jump in about goals real quick right now if everybody's want. So the whole goal thing, because somebody asked me last night, did I write my mission statement for holistic health and healing? And I laughed. I did it with my heart. It's me all the time, but I don't know if I've written a mission statement. I'm sure in all those stacks of Post-it notes here on my desk, there is a mission. So I have journaled, but to do something formal. But there's this little part of me that is resistant. I know in business, it's important to have goals and build structures and say, we're going to do this. And so I need to do that more. But I so love living in this space of letting it flow and letting things organically happen. Too much planning could block the little surprises of things that the universe wants to gift us with. So I'm going to say struggle, but I get a little resistant to being, even though I say I love to plan and I love my to-do list, those are more for day-to-day things. The bigger picture things, I just love the surprises and letting it unfold. But then again, I do realize we live in this third dimensional reality and I'm running a business now. So I feel like I do need to do like a 1-year goal or a 5-year goal. I mean, right now my goal is to keep the doors open. Is that a good enough goal? I mean, that's my goal for everything. It's just, but then it's like, well, then how do you do that? I need to write a plan on how I plan to do that. I don't know. So that's where I am. with
I was going to
that.
say my goal, because I'm partners with Krista and she likes to be organic. And sometimes I don't write down things. So my goal is to be consistent. I want to reflect consistency and I want us to be here. I want Metaphysical Mississippi to be here next year. And my goal is to put a podcast out once a week. And I would love
Let me get to it.
I would love for us for it to pay for itself. And my own personal goals is I am looking for other forms of income and relocating this year. And I'm currently interviewing and looking. So I have a lot of goals, but I haven't written them down. But as far as work goes, consistency is my goal. Let's be consistent. Let's be reliable. Well, we should want that in all of our businesses anyway, but consistency. People want to invest. Let's make people feel confident to invest in us. Invest in, me as a friend, invest in me as as a business, as a client. I want to be there for someone who is, if I'm going to be a customer, I would like to be a consistent customer for that. But anyway, that's my goal, is consistency. And
That's very nice, Emily. Very nice. And I think as people that own businesses, we appreciate consistent customers.
yes,
We do.
Yeah, for sure. Kelly, do you have anything to add about your
Yeah.
business?
So with Twin Moon Magic, my goal is to keep plugging away and pouring candles that people love, and getting new stores every year. So, 2018, I started just with an Etsy store. 2019, I had my first store, retail store that was not local, like a local store. And then, now I've got like 6. So I just want to keep growing and adding more stores, because then that's more people that have the opportunity to have one of my candles in their house and feel that love that's in them, so I'm spreading my energy that way. And with Jack Zen, our plan obviously is to welcome our consistent customers. And not only that, but this year we're getting back into the group stuff. So we're going to have the Heartual, the little paint and sips that we do every new moon. So once a month, we're going to be doing that consistently this year, along with the little workshops. So we've got the journal making workshop. And then so every couple months, we're going to have another makers series where we'll have like a candle making class. And Christy's going to do a what the F is in my yard class, an herbal class. So throughout the year, that's our goal. We're going to have a lot more. COVID really put us where we didn't do the group meetings anymore. So our goal is to get a community back in the store where you could walk into Jack Zen and it was filled to the brim with people just lounging and hanging out. We want that again.
It was the other day when we went by there.
We love that. We love that.
Good.
We love that. We want that again. So our goal is to get community back and just really get to hang with everybody again. So we can't wait.
Yes.
Great. Well, if there's nothing else, I feel like we have covered a lot in this meeting.
We did.
We'd love to hear from people about what you're using to do planning and goal setting and making your business progress and hopefully be prosperous in the new year. But thank you for watching, and we appreciate any tips or tricks you have to want to share with us.
yes, thank you. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply or endorsement of them or any entity they represent.